The house had grown quiet over the years, too quiet. Samuel Walker, 42, had long grown used to the echo of his own footsteps and the silence of unsaid words. Since his divorce 10 years ago, he'd filled the emptiness with routine. Early mornings, late work hours, and microwave dinners eaten in front of muted television shows. His son Ethan had been his only source of light. But even Ethan, now in his 20s and off at university, had built a life separate from the hollow halls of this home. Samuel hadn't dated since the divorce. He hadn't wanted to. The betrayal from his ex-wife had cut deeper than he'd let on. Trust, intimacy, those weren't luxuries he could afford anymore. He survived on familiarity, clung to predictability, and convinced himself that loneliness was a smaller price to pay than disappointment. When Ethan called to say he'd be visiting for winter break and bringing his best friend along, Samuel felt something stir. He wouldn't admit it, but part of him liked the idea of noise in the house again, of new energy in old rooms. The friend's name was Liam Hart. Samuel remembered the name vaguely, from stories Ethan had shared over the years. Roommate, teammate, and apparently closer than a brother. The doorbell rang on a Thursday afternoon. Samuel opened the door and saw Ethan's wide grin first, but then Liam stepped forward, and something in the air shifted. Liam was taller than Ethan, lean but athletic, with a quiet confidence that contrasted Ethan's usual bursts of energy. His eyes were the kind of green that made you think of spring, but his voice was calm, almost grounding. He offered his hand with a warm smile. "Mr. Walker, it's really great to finally meet you." Samuel shook it, surprised by the firmness, the sincerity. "Call me Sam," he replied, noticing how Liam's eyes held his a second longer than expected. Over the next few days, Liam made himself useful without ever feeling invasive. He offered to help cook breakfast, cleaned up without being asked, even brought in wood for the old fireplace Samuel rarely used. Ethan, ever the whirlwind, was in and out meeting friends, running errands, being young and alive. But Liam lingered in the kitchen, asked questions, listened carefully to answers. One evening, Samuel found himself sitting across from Liam at the dining table. Ethan off on a late-night drive with old friends. The fire crackled between them. Samuel hadn't lit it in months, but Liam had insisted said homes like this deserved warmth. "You live here alone?" Liam asked gently. Samuel nodded. 10 years now. Liam leaned back, not prying, just present. "That must be hard sometimes." Samuel stared into his glass. "You get used to it," Liam smiled softly. "I don't think people are meant to get used to being alone." That sentence sat heavy in the room, heavier than Samuel expected. He looked up, expecting to see pity in Liam's face, but found only understanding. In that moment, something cracked, just a hairline fracture in the carefully built shell Samuel had worn for a decade. Not love, not even desire, just awareness of how long it had been since someone saw him. Not as Ethan's dad, not as a coworker or neighbor, just him. He stood to clear the plates, needing to move, to think. Liam helped without being asked. Again, their hands brushed briefly over a dish. Samuel froze. Liam didn't pull away. The moment passed, but something had begun. And though Samuel couldn't name it yet, he knew this winter wouldn't be as quiet as the last. The first snow of the season arrived overnight, blanketing the small town in quiet elegance. Liam was already in the kitchen when Samuel came downstairs. A skillet sizzled, and the scent of butter and cinnamon laced the air like a memory long forgotten. "You cook too?" Samuel asked, a hint of amusement softening his voice. Liam turned, wearing a flowered apron and an easy grin. "French toast, thought I'd earn my keep." Samuel watched him move, fluid, unhurried. There was no showiness in Liam's presence, just purpose. He wasn't filling space. He was part of it. They ate at the counter, sharing stories over clinks of forks and lazy sips of coffee. Ethan hadn't come home last night. He'd texted late, staying at a friend's. Samuel hadn't minded. If anything, it gave him more time to observe Liam, to listen. There was depth beneath the surface, a quiet intelligence in the way he phrased things, how he seemed to notice more than he spoke. After breakfast, they worked side by side, rearranging the attic. It had been Ethan's idea to help his dad clear, without the space, but it was Liam who took the lead. Samuel found himself laughing more than usual, a full-bodied sound that startled even him. At one point, while lifting a heavy box together, their shoulders bumped. Neither moved away. The days passed like that's effortless strange. Liam stayed longer in the kitchen, lingered in conversation, picked up on things Samuel didn't realize he'd revealed. He remembered how Samuel took his tea. He noticed when the living room light flickered and replaced the bulb without being asked. One afternoon, he handed Samuel a scarf before he even mentioned feeling cold. The smallest gestures spoke the loudest. They shared quiet dinners while Ethan disappeared into his social orbit. Sometimes Liam would bring out his phone and show photos from campus, moments frozen in laughter and youth. Samuel listened, a man standing at the edge of a world he once knew. One night they baked cookies. It started as a joke, Samuel admitting he hadn't used his oven in years, but turned into a flour-dusted mess of burned edges and undercooked dough. They laughed, shoulder to shoulder, wiping smudges from each other's cheeks. Liam's hand brushed Samuel's jaw, lingering for a second too long. Samuel's breath caught. Liam didn't look away, his thumb still on Samuel's skin. Then he smiled and turned back to the tray. The moment slipped past like steam on a mirror, but never spoken. But Samuel lay awake that night, staring at the ceiling, haunted by the touch. It had been so innocent, and yet it wasn't. He wasn't naive. He knew attraction when it stirred, even if he hadn't felt it in a decade. The danger wasn't just in the age difference. It was in the betrayal it hinted at. Liam wasn't just anyone, he was Ethan's best friend, a guest, a boundary. And yet, boundaries were only useful if they weren't already half-earsed. The next morning, Ethan announced he'd be gone for 2 days, a quick trip to visit a friend out of town. He slapped Liam on the back, told him to keep Dad entertained, and left with a duffel bag and a wink. Samuel stood by the window, watching his son disappear into the snowy street. Liam's voice came from behind him, low and casual. "Looks like it's just us for a while." Samuel turned slowly, meeting Liam's eyes. And in that look, he realized the hunger was no longer just emotional, it had become personal. The silence between them that morning wasn't awkward, it was charged. A delicate tension threaded through the air like static before a storm. Samuel moved around the kitchen with deliberate calm, setting out mugs and toasting bread. Liam sat at the table, watching him, fingers drumming idly against ceramic. Neither mentioned Ethan. The hours passed with quiet distractions, reading by the fire, rearranging shelves, sorting out old vinyl records, but their conversation grew thinner, the pauses heavier. Words had run out because they weren't what either of them really wanted. By evening the snow had turned to sleet. Wind beat against the windows, and a chill crept under the doors. Samuel lit the fireplace again, more out of habit than need. Liam brought a blanket and dropped it over both their shoulders as they sat on the couch, close, but not quite touching. Cold? Liam asked. Samuel nodded, though it wasn't the weather. That made him shiver. They watched the fire dance for a while. Shadows flickered across their faces, hiding things neither of them could say aloud. You look tired, Liam said softly. I've been tired for 10 years. Samuel replied before he could stop himself. Liam turned toward him, the firelight catching in his eyes. Then let someone carry the weight for once. Samuel looked at him rarely, saw no pity, no judgment, just presence, warmth, hunger, maybe a reflection of his own. Liam reached out first, not abrupt, not rushed, just a hand, gently placed on Samuel's knee. It was a question, not a demand. Samuel didn't answer with words. He leaned in. The kiss was slow, hesitant, like two people walking barefoot into unfamiliar water. Liam's lips were soft, patient. Samuel responded before he had time to talk himself out of it. A decade of repression crumbled in a single breath. They broke apart only when the fire hissed from a falling log. Samuel pulled back, blinking like a man waking from a trance. This is wrong, he whispered, but his voice lacked conviction. No, Liam said, but does it feel wrong? That question echoed. Samuel stood, heart pounding, retreating to the kitchen under the guise of needing air. His hands shook as he poured water into a glass he didn't drink from. Liam followed, quietly. Sam, I didn't plan any of this, but I haven't felt this close to anyone in years. Samuel turned, his voice raw. He's my son. I know he trusts you. I know that too. And you kissed me. Liam exhaled. You kissed me back. The truth in those words left them both silent. Samuel dropped into a chair, his face buried in his hands. I've been empty for so long, Liam. I thought I'd made peace with it, but you remind me what it's like to feel. Liam didn't approach. He stayed a few steps away, hands in his pockets, pain flickering in his eyes. I don't want to hurt anyone, especially not Ethan. The front door opened, footsteps. Dad. Ethan's voice rang out from the hallway. Surprise, I came back early. Roads were getting bad. Liam froze. Samuel stood slowly, heart slamming against his ribs. Ethan appeared in the doorway, smiling, then pausing. His gaze moved from Samuel to Liam and back again. Something in the air told him everything. He didn't say a word. He didn't have to. The betrayal had already landed. Ethan didn't speak, not right away. He stood in the doorway, eyes darting between the two men, his father stiff and pale, Liam frozen mid-breath. The weight of the moment collapsed on the room like a ceiling giving way. Ethan. Samuel's voice cracked under the strain. You weren't supposed to be back until tomorrow. Clearly, Ethan said, his tone flat, unreadable. Liam stepped forward, cautious. It's not what you think. Ethan laughed just once, sharp and bitter. Please, don't insult me. I walked into a storm, but the damage was already done. Samuel looked at his son, helpless. We never meant for it to happen. It just did. Ethan shook his head slowly. You're my father, Sam, and you, his gaze snapped to Liam, were supposed to be my best friend. I still am, Liam said quietly. Then why does this feel like a knife in the back? The silence that followed wasn't empty, it was full. of years of trust, love, loyalty all unraveling. Asterisk Ethan dropped his bag by the door. I need space. I'll be staying at Ryan's. Ethan, wait, Samuel pleaded, stepping forward, but Ethan held up a hand. Not with anger but something worse, disappointment. You were all I had left that felt solid, Dad, after Mom left. After everything we were supposed to be the ones who didn't fall apart. Asterisk he turned to Liam, eyes red, and you knew what he meant to me. Not just as my dad but my constant, my only real home. Asterisk Liam swallowed hard, his voice barely audible. I never wanted to hurt you. Asterisk then, why did you? No one had an answer. Ethan left without another word. Asterisk the door shut gently, but it sounded like a door slamming forever. The days that followed moved like molasses, slow, sticky, bitter. Liam stayed in the guest room, packing in silence. Samuel drifted through the house like a ghost of himself. The warmth that once glowed between them had turned cold under the weight of consequences. Asterisk I should go, Liam said on the third morning, his bag by the door, scarf in hand. Samuel didn't stop him. Maybe in another time, Liam added, voice hoarse. This could have made sense. Asterisk Samuel nodded, tired and hollow. Maybe, but time isn't ours to rewrite. Asterisk Liam left with a single backward glance, and Samuel stood alone once more just as he had for the past decade. But this loneliness felt different. He had tasted something real, and lost it. Weeks passed. Samuel tried calling Ethan. Messages left unread. Apologies unanswered. Then, one Sunday, a knock. He opened the door to find Ethan, eyes tired, heart still guarded. Asterisk I'm not here to forgive, Ethan said. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Asterisk Samuel stepped aside. Come in anyway. Asterisk they sat at the same table where Liam once made French toast. No fire burned in the hearth. No laughter, just two men, father and son, trying to find footing on a shattered floor. Asterisk I don't understand it, Ethan admitted. Maybe I never will. Asterisk I don't ask you to, Samuel said, only that you believe I never meant to betray you. Asterisk Ethan looked at him, eyes clouded but searching. I don't know how to be okay with it. But I also don't know how to erase you. The silence settled again, gentler this time. Samuel reached across the table, not to hold, but to offer. Then let's start from here.